You've just found the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Here, you'll discover the people and places that make Montana like no other place in the world. If you love to fish, hunt, or just enjoy creating your own adventure in the outdoors, you have come to the right place. The Montana Outdoor Podcast is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go to rmtte.com and see everything they have waiting for you online, or just come by 5680 Expressway in Missoula, and by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, delivering the highest quality lumber, paneling, flooring, and reclaimed wood products anywhere in North America. Let them guide you through the woods at their showroom in Missoula on Highway 93 South or at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, let's go discover Montana's great outdoors. Roger Fishwell here, sitting in for my buddy Downrigger Dale on this week's Montana Outdoor Podcast. If you're wondering where old Rigger is, don't worry, he's just taking a little time to rest up. Nothing serious, and we sure hope he's back behind the mic next week where he belongs. But in the meantime, I've got you covered. Today we're taking a full tour across the great state of Montana to look at how the hunting season is shaping up so far. I'll be bringing you the latest updates from all the regions that regularly report harvest results, using only the freshest official check station information we've received. And if you're hoping to hear about a specific district or species that doesn't come up today, don't be shy. Just send an email over to Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com and let us know what you're looking for. We watch that inbox closely, and we'll track down whatever information you need. All right, folks, settle in, grab that good strong coffee, and let's get this thing started. First stop, Region 6 in Northeast Montana. All right, gang, let's kick things off up in Region 6, way out there in the wide open country of Northeast Montana. The most up-to-date information we have comes from the Havre Check Station, which has been open every weekend since antelope and pheasant season kicked off back on October 11th and 12th. It'll stay open straight through the end of rifle season on November 30th. So far this year, 823 hunters have passed through the station. That's a little lower than last season and below the long-term average. Weather has been warm and windy at times, and even though roads have stayed pretty dry, that mild weather may be part of why hunter success has dipped a bit. All right, let's talk numbers. Only 40 mule deer have been checked. That's 48% below last year and 71% below the long-term average. Just 9 whitetails checked, also significantly below last year and below the long-term average. A big reason for the low deer numbers is the reduction in antlerless licenses for both mule deer and whitetails this season. Now here's where the story flips. Antelope numbers are strong. 227 antelope have been checked. That's 54% higher than last year and right on the long-term average. In fact, this is the highest antelope harvest at this point since 2010. Just 11 elk checked so far. That's down 27% from last year and 37% below the long-term average. Upland reports vary across the region, with the western side of Region 6 seeing better bird numbers than the east. 548 pheasants checked, down 9%. 97 sharp tails, down 4%, but 1% above long-term average. 67 gray partridge, down 11%, but 36% above long-term average. Waterfowl numbers are always low at this station, and this year, even lower. All 23 waterfowl checked were ducks. That's the latest out of Region 6. All right, folks, let's head south into Region 7. Now we're heading down into southeast Montana. Here's the thing about Region 7. Unlike most of the other regions, we don't get regular detailed harvest reports from this part of the state. They've got just one main check station down there, and they report their data a little differently. That means official numbers can take a while to come in. But here's what we can tell you. We've been hearing from quite a few hunters out on the ground, and while these aren't official stats, a number of folks have reported seeing good activity across much of the region. With antelope populations being so strong this year, it's no surprise hunters have been talking about seeing plenty of speed goats out on the prairie. Again, those aren't formal numbers, but they're consistent with the big boost in antelope we've heard about statewide. As soon as we get the official harvest data from Region 7, you'd better believe Downrigger Dale will bring that to you right here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. We'll pass along every detail as soon as it hits our desk. Now let's swing ourselves west a bit and drop into Region 5, South Central Montana. This region always brings a mix of terrain and a mix of harvest results depending on where you check in. Here's what we know so far. Across Region 5, hunter numbers and overall harvest totals are very similar to last year, although when you compare everything to the long-term averages, things are a little more mixed. During the third weekend of the general season, Big Timber, Lavina, and Billings ran check stations on Sunday only. Columbus was open both Saturday and Sunday. Altogether, 2,248 hunters have checked in so far this season, just slightly below the 2,370 hunters at this same point last year. All right, let's get into the harvest totals. Still the most commonly checked animal in Region 5, though numbers remain below the long-term average. White-tailed deer, 162 harvested. Elk, 157 harvested. Antelope, 58 harvested. Antelope season closed November 9th. Those numbers line up closely with last season. And before we go check station by check station, a reminder, every hunter must stop at every game check station they pass, whether you filled a tag or not. These stations are vital for tracking trends and guiding wildlife management. All right, station by station. The third weekend was busy. Both hunter numbers and harvest were above the long-term average. Hunter success hit 69%, the highest for that weekend since 2003. Season totals so far: mule deer below the long-term average, antelope below average, whitetails above average. Elk above average. Warm temps along the Beartooth Front brought out a lot of hunters. 167 hunters checked in, busiest third weekend since 2016. 30 mule deer harvested, highest in nearly a decade. Still slightly below the long-term average of 40. Cumulative deer and antelope harvest remain below average, but elk harvest is nearly double the long-term average. Early rut signs were showing in a few bucks. Mule deer harvest for the weekend, above long-term average. Whitetail harvest, above long-term average. Season totals: 56 mule deer, just shy of 62 deer average. 36 whitetails, slightly above long-term average of 32. So here is the summary for Region 5. Hunter numbers and harvest were below long-term averages for nearly all species except antelope. Overall, hunter success remains consistent with recent years. Steady, familiar patterns across most of the region, with a few bright spots depending on where you checked in. All right, folks, let's keep heading northwest into Region 4 and keep this statewide tour rolling. We're heading up into Region 4, right there in north central Montana, home to the plains, the foothills, and of course, the rugged edge of the Rocky Mountain front. The third weekend of the general rifle season turned out to be the busiest one yet at the Augusta Biological Check Station, with just over 300 hunters and 62 animals checked. Now that we're a little more than 2 full weeks into the season, they've seen a total of 1,182 hunters, which is actually slightly above average. Despite the mild weather, which usually keeps wildlife movement down, the overall big game harvest in this area is still sitting right near average for this stage of the season. Through that third Sunday, 261 total deer and elk checked. That's 3% above average, but still 15% lower than last year. Here's the breakdown. Elk, 87 harvested. Mule deer, 87 harvested. Whitetail deer, 87 harvested. Yep, harvest is perfectly even across all 3 species. As we approach mid-November, hunters should pay attention. The rut is about to kick in, and that usually bumps up deer movement, especially those older age class bucks. Let's look deeper at the deer numbers so far. Out of 174 total deer, 66% antlered bucks, 33% antlerless. For elk, harvest is slightly above average so far, 63% bulls, 37% antlerless. Now for those hunting in quota districts, Hunting District 424 closed for elk quota, still open for brow-tine bulls through the end of the season. Hunting District 442 open for both antlerless and brow-tined bulls. If you need the latest on quota status, call the Augusta station directly at 406-562-3467. Beyond deer and elk, the station has also checked 6 antelope, 1 bighorn sheep, 1 black bear, 1 mountain goat, 1 mountain lion, plus various upland birds and waterfowl. Antelope season is now closed up in this region. And a reminder, especially up here along the front, stay bear aware. There's still grizzly activity in the area. Also, remember that the general deer and elk season runs through November 30th. The Augusta station is open 7 days a week, early mornings on weekdays, and until about 10 p.m. on weekends. Region 4, summary. Steady hunter numbers, solid harvest across the board, and more activity expected as the rut heats up. All right, folks, from here, we're heading west into some of the thickest, steepest country in the entire state. But first, I wanted to play this important message from Downrigger Dale. He wanted to remind you that this podcast would not happen if it weren't for folks like these at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Next stop, Region 1. So stay right here.
Are you going to get out hunting or to your favorite ice fishing hole this year? Yeah, I know. Finding the time is always the hard part, isn't it? Well, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you get the things done that you have to do so you have time to do the things you want to do. How about clearing the driveway or work areas of snow? Yeah, that can be a time sucker for sure. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has just what you need. A huge selection of Boss snowplows and accessories that'll fit any truck or ATV even. Boss snowplows are flat amazing at removing snow fast. Or how about something that can serve you at both work and on your next adventure outdoors? Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has awesome Diamond C utility trailers and accessories that can haul work equipment during the week and then your ATV or snowmobile or other awesome outdoor toys on the weekend. Of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer also has an amazing service department with top technicians and parts pros that are ready to fix or replace whatever you need, from installing a new fifth wheel or gooseneck hitch, or even rewiring the lights on your trailer so they work the way they're supposed to. What about getting some other time-saving accessories for your truck installed? That, my friends, is for sure one of their specialties. And get this, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can even help with financing. Yeah, they've got you covered. This is going to be a great fall and winter season, my friends, especially if you go see Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243. Or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Get a hold of them today and then start planning that hunting trip.
All right, gang. Now we're moving into one of the steepest, thickest, and most rugged parts of Montana. Region 1, way up in northwest Montana. If you've hunted up here, you know the drill. You're either walking uphill or downhill, almost never flat. Region 1's numbers aren't quite as current as some of the other regions, but what we do have is fairly recent through the second weekend of the general rifle season. So far, things are looking pretty solid. Hunter participation is actually down 7% from last year. 3,480 hunters have passed through the 4 regional check stations. But even with fewer folks out there, success rates and total harvest numbers are still strong. Here's what's been checked so far: 276 white-tailed deer, 21 mule deer, 29 elk. That gives Region 1 a success rate of 9.4%, slightly higher than last year's 8.9% at the same point. Among the check stations, Olney is leading the region with a 12.3% success rate. Thompson Falls at 10.2%, with elk harvest noticeably higher than last year. Highway 2 and Swan stations have whitetail harvests holding right in line with recent years. Now, folks, while we're talking Region 1, we've got to hit something serious. CWD, chronic wasting disease. Hunters play a huge role in monitoring this disease, and Region 1 continues to be an important hotspot. Testing is voluntary across most of the region, but there are mandatory testing requirements near Libby. Mandatory testing applies to white-tailed deer, B license 199-20 in districts 100, 103, 104. Mule deer, permit 103-50 in District 103. If you need testing, you can stop at a CWD sampling station, most FWP offices, or collect and mail your own samples. FWP encourages hunters to get a negative result before processing or donating meat. If your animal tests positive, FWP helps dispose of the carcass properly and will help you request a replacement license. And as always, dispose of carcass waste properly to help prevent the spread of CWD. Here's your Region 1 summary. Lower hunter turnout, strong success rates, steady deer numbers, and important CWD requirements to keep in mind. All right, gang, now we're dropping down out of the mountains of Region 1 and heading south into Region 2, right there in west central Montana. This is a region full of big timber, open benches, and some beautiful river bottoms. And the hunting reports out of here are looking pretty encouraging so far this season. The most up-to-date information we have comes from the 3 main check stations in Anaconda, Bonner, Darby, and overall, things are looking positive. Across those stations, harvest totals for both white-tailed and mule deer are up compared to last year and compared to the 5-year average. That's always good to see, especially with some early signs of the rut beginning to show. Over the weekend, hunters saw the first hints of rut activity, which gave the deer harvest a noticeable bump. And as we all know, once the rut really kicks in, success rates tend to climb right along with it. Let's look at the numbers covering the first 3 weekends of the season. 5,643 hunter stops, up from 5,212 last year. Harvest totals 88 mule deer, up from 68 last year. 188 white-tailed deer, up from 168 last year. 180 elk, down slightly from 196 last year. So deer numbers are up. Elk numbers are down just a touch. Breaking things down by station, Darby Station, harvest totals for deer and elk, and even hunter traffic look almost exactly the same as this point last season. Bonner Station, elk harvest down slightly. Deer harvest up compared to recent years. Mule deer saw a nice bump over the weekend. Anaconda Station, following same overall region patterns. Steady deer, lighter elk. Region 2 summary. Positive trends for deer, steady but slightly lower elk harvest, and rut activity beginning to influence success. All right, gang, that brings us to our very last stop on this statewide tour. But first, let's listen to another message that Rigger left for us from our other sponsor that is a huge supporter of hunters and anglers, Superior Hardwoods of Montana.
I want to take a minute to thank Superior Hardwoods of Montana for their support of this podcast. It is what allows us to bring you the latest from Montana's great outdoors, with very few interruptions, by the way. That said, there is another reason we are lucky to have Superior Hardwoods of Montana on board. They are an amazing business that can offer all of you some of the most incredible wood products you have ever seen. Plus, Superior Hardwoods of Montana is still a place that actually cares about and appreciates their customers, the same way we appreciate you, our viewers and listeners. They offer you something original and totally unique, like their 11 acres of wood wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, well, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Wood from old barns, historic homesteads, even historic factories. And that amazing wood can be part of your story too. Right there in your home can be a piece of American history, brought back to life, custom milled and refinished to your specifications. So it not only tells its original story, but also speaks to who you are and how special your home is. Superior Hardwoods also has exotic woods, live edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring too, all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing this since 1977. They know how to guide you through the woods. Swing into their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula. Or you can just check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Local, knowledgeable, family-run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see them.
We're coming down the home stretch now, heading into Region 3 right there in southwest Montana. If this region sounds familiar, it's because the Region 3 hunting preview episode that Downrigger Dale recorded in Bozeman earlier this year ended up being the most viewed preview podcast of the entire season. Over 12,000 of you tuned in during the first few days. Why that one took off like it did, well, that's still a bit of a mystery, but it sure struck a chord with folks. Let's dig into the latest numbers. We're now at the midpoint of the 5-week general deer and elk season, and so far the weather has been mild across the region. Mild weather makes for easier travel, but it doesn't always help with wildlife movement. So sometimes the harvest numbers don't really jump until that colder weather pushes animals down. FWP biologists have been collecting harvest data at the Region 3 weekend check stations. On November 8th and 9th, the third weekend of the season, they operated stations at Alder, Cameron, Divide, Gallatin, Lakeside. A total of 1,099 hunters passed through those 5 stations. Those hunters checked 40 elk, 28 mule deer, 6 white-tailed deer, plus a handful of other species. Now let's look at hunter traffic. Divide and Cameron saw above-average hunter numbers. Alder and Gallatin were below average. Cameron was the busiest station overall with 403 hunters. Gallatin saw the fewest with 109. Success rates across the region. Gallatin landed right at the long-term average. Alder, Cameron, and Divide were all below average with success ranging from 5.7% at Cameron up to 12% at Alder. This was the first year the Lakeside station operated on the third weekend, so there aren't long-term comparisons yet. And as is usually the case, mild weather can be a double-edged sword. Easy travel, but not always great for pushing animals into the most accessible country. As colder weather arrives, harvest numbers typically improve. Region 3 summary. Mixed success across stations, mild weather patterns, steady turnout, and likely improvements coming with colder temps. And folks, that wraps up our statewide hunting report for the halfway point of Montana's general rifle season. If you didn't hear something you were hoping to learn about a specific district or species, don't worry. Just send us an email at downrigger@montanooutdoor.com and we'll track down exactly what you're looking for. I'm Roger Fishwell, sitting in for Downrigger Dale. And for the rest of you, thanks for coming along with us on this big ride across Montana. We'll catch you next week, right here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Thanks for watching the Montana Outdoor Podcast. You know, there's no way we could do this podcast without the incredible support of sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock, high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go see them on the web at rmtte.com. We'd love to hear what you thought of this week's podcast. When you get a minute or two, shoot us an email and tell us your thoughts. Just send your questions or comments to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. Hey, don't forget we should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, gang, we hope to see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.